And this week, I wanted to turn the tables back to the world of hotels and hotel operations. As many of you know, the GrowthWorks network is really all about hoteliers supporting other hoteliers through this crisis and providing the support, development, and kind of networks we think we'll all need to get out of this mess and be successful in the months and years to come. And especially as we chat to a lot of university students and recent graduates, that path to general manager is still a dream for many. And I think a lot of people really wanted to reflect on what's 2020 meant for the role of a GM, just given the absolute roller coaster in the industry. So for our 19th Thoughts on Thursday, a couple of weeks before Christmas, really excited to welcome two experienced GMs to kind of co-host with me. So Michael is a GM here in the UK, really great career coming up through De Vere and now at Delata, overlooking a hotel at Manchester Airport. I was really inspired by Michael and some of the stories he had to tell. Chris and I met for the first time, I think maybe last week or a couple of weeks ago. So work both here in the UK, now down in Cape Town, GM of the Peninsula. And again, I think really what Chris can inspire us on is just that level of innovation, what he calls the maverick spirit, I think, of just how with everything changing around us, there are always opportunities for us to lead our teams and fight for revenues and keep our businesses moving. Michael, I'd love to turn over to you first.
Thanks very much, James. And just looking at the audience there, hello everyone, hope you're well. I'm Michael Sheldon, General Manager of Clayton Hotel at Manchester Airport. We have 365 bedrooms at the airport, normally run at an occupancy of around 95% this year. However, in our recent budget presentations to our executive team and board, I said this year's been our most successful year ever. They suppressed the guffawing, but hopefully I'll come a bit later on as to why I do feel this year's been a good success for us, despite COVID and the pandemic. Prior to, I've been with Delata for 7 years now, 2 years managing our Leeds property, 5 years here. Prior to that, a mixture of working in leisure hotels as GM, food and beverage capacity at 5-star hotels, Michelin starred, super brasseries. So a real mix. When we first set out, we had to move the hotel from 3-star to 4-star, and we did that in quick fashion within the first few months, actually, which was great. And then the years since has been a story of building a team and then developing the team. So two things that I think are very different, and plotting a succession for the team to go on and thrive. And I think if you stabilize property, a hotel, a business, then it gives you a greater opportunity to develop the guys and girls within it. It's the people that have got us through the pandemic. I certainly couldn't have done it without them, and the hotel I don't think would have done half as good through this period without their focus and support, I have to say. Things that we've had to do to keep ahead of flows, we've had to engage with the city. We've got a great relationship with Marcus in Manchester, and they've done really well, sort of banging the drum for hotels and tourism in general. Whilst we're chasing down leads and support from them, we really needed to learn quickly from the team as to what they needed through this period to help us crack on. And we did really quite well. We were at 50% occupancy in August, and that was because we went and got the business in. That also provided the biggest platform to learn, because if I think of the first lockdown particularly, there was a lot of anxiety around people who were reacting in ways that possibly surprised us, but we really had to sort of tune into the emotional piece and not just sort of put the business first. And then as soon as we got on top of that early doors, everything else came flowing from that. So we really worked with making sure that we could provide the correct environment for the team to come and feel safe, feel secure, make sure that was extended to our guests as well. And it really was a people first approach. And then coming through to now, this lockdown, the second lockdown, business wise has not been a breeze, but it's certainly been a bit of a breeze for the team. They're taking it in their stride. They understand and can see the benefits of planning and looking ahead as to what's beyond the end of the lockdown and what we're going to do there. And to sort of tie up as to why I feel like this has been our most successful year. Well, if you look at the EBITDA line, it's been absolutely horrendous. But if we look at the development of the team members, the different skill set that they've learned from all over the departments, and the business that we've won from being relentless and quite frankly, stealing a march with everybody in the comp set, SDR will demonstrate that if you ever get to see our figures or the city figures. Then that has been a very successful year for us. And as we go into next year and the recovery into 21, I've got such a great, rounded, upskilled team we'll be ready for everything to throw at us. So a tough year, but next year is made completely possible by the guys we've got around us.
Some great stuff there. I think it's really going to come down to team, isn't it? And strength, and making sure our people can get us through it. Really appreciate that. Chris, it'd be great to hear your thoughts from Cape Town and how you've handled the world since February or March.
Yeah, thanks, James. Well, from Cape Town, South Africa, down obviously in the Southern Hemisphere, a very warm welcome. I've been in the industry, started in about 1977 as a trainee at the Carlton Hotel in Johannesburg, worked in Australia, worked in the UK, worked in the States. I spent most of my career in South Africa, run about 15 properties over my lifetime, but have been at the Peninsula for the last 15 years. It's a fairly large timeshare come hotel resort on the Atlantic seaboard in Cape Town. Really beautiful spot in the world. COVID came and arrived, and with a big surprise, I think, to teach us all a lesson and tell us how we've got to become a little bit more agile, and also to show us what we've been doing wrong in the past. You had to be agile. You had to think out the box, come up with new ways, involve the people in the hotel. You can't do it on your own as a general manager. There's no doubt, even with all the experience, you're only as good as the team that are working with you. I think South Africa had a different sort of phased lockdown approach. Our first lockdown was a much stiffer one than I think England had and a lot of the other countries in the world. Within a week, we suddenly were forced by our president into a major, what we thought was a 3-week lockdown period. And when I say lockdown, it meant close everything. So within a week, we had absolutely no income. It was much longer than we thought. The first 3-week lockdown was extended by another 2 weeks to 5 weeks. And thereafter, although we weren't allowed to open, we were allowed to bring back people to do essential maintenance. I brought my team, brought them back to work in a flexible approach to do the winter maintenance program. We pretty much put everybody to work on a refurbishment project to keep everybody employed. It gave us the opportunity to train our staff into the COVID protocols, give them an understanding. Another thing that we were able to do, we had a communication link with every single staff member. So every day we kept in contact, even though we were isolated at our homes and not really knowing what was going on. We then had a staggered phased opening after sort of 6 weeks, where we were allowed to open sort of a takeaway business on food. And slowly we were allowed to bring in quarantine type business into the hotel. And then after about 2 months, we could bring in intra-provincial travel, which was our own local areas. And that then opened up another couple of months later into full provincial across the country. And just recently, we've opened up to full international business. But from March to November, that's a long time. And I've managed in September and October to run at a 90% occupancy. All my staff are back fully employed, full pay. We're operating as normal and looking forward to the international visitors coming back, hopefully in January. The world is approaching these things in different ways. We don't know what's going to happen. I think there are still many hotels, not only in South Africa and Cape Town, but around the world that are waiting for something to happen. And if you wait, nothing is going to happen. You've got to be proactive and really just inspire together. We were really picked up for our CSI responsibilities. We assisted on school feeding. We did things like homeless meal projects. This caught the media attention. With the media attention, social media picked it up. We were on national TV. The marketing aspects, the PR was really great. Yes, I don't think anybody's got occupancies in Cape Town like I have. So the positive energy spins on, and that's really what we're coming from.
I think that's fantastic. And I think hopefully everyone can kind of see why we wanted to hear from you two. Because for me, I certainly still see there are GMs and operators who have got a bit of a head in the sand kind of approach. The two of you are real fighters and determined to kind of make it work.
My question was really to find out what are the pain points that you're experiencing when it comes to systems. So whether that's PMS, channel managers, even your OTA connections and that. And are they the same pain points as what you had prior to the pandemic?
Well, there's always pain points. There's no doubt in technology, whatever it is you do, you're going to have, when one doesn't talk to the other. I think software versus hardware is always, the one is always blaming the other, but I would say that, yes, I think it's probably more the lack of the guest knowing how to use technology rather than us. So it's really, and the different devices, I mean, from Android to Apple to whatever, some don't work in the same way. I think the systems are pretty well designed. I mean, now we can do an online check-in before you arrive. We can issue your key card and scan it through, and it works on the doorknob. Right. So, but I would say only 10% of the guests are using that facility. You know, they have to download an app onto their phone. That becomes complicated. The older people don't really feel comfortable doing that. You know, there's still a fear of losing, you know, the sort of what we call a POPI Act, the personal protection of information, that kind of stuff going out. Amongst the younger generations, it's not so bad, but definitely sort of, I would say, sort of 40 upwards, there's still, you know, a fear of giving away too much stuff. So I would say it's not so much staff or the systems, it's more the customer not being, you know, we've used some, you know, good Chromecast streaming type technology on our TVs, giving better broadcasting quality. But still, people just want to use the old TV remote. They don't want to go into using their smartphone and getting it connected or bringing their device from home. So I think my biggest problem is actually sort of educating the customer versus the staff. But yes, the systems are there now. And if you're willing to invest, they're there and they'll work.
Is there any skill that you think your teams have learned or developed and that would be really key when recovery comes, that will make a really difference?
I'd like to think that our team have learned from themselves. You know, they've given themselves a confidence that they can deal with a huge amount thrown at them. And if you'd have said, right, this is going to happen over the next 6 months, and a big list of everything that everyone will have to face in terms of challenges, they would really feel, again, well, they did, anxious, but a lot of anxiety came from the unknown. I think they'd be possibly thinking, oh, how are we going to do that? But now we're entering another phase. They've got the confidence that if we can tackle this and we can get through this, and they've seen that what they were doing is working and having a great impact on our guests, and our guest feedback's never been higher in my time here. You know, and growing. So again, a great success for us, but that comes from the confidence of the team. And going into next year, they'll learn that about themselves. All we did is create the space for them to do that.
Fantastic. Look, we are out of time, and as those of you who've been before, I know I always like to finish on time because I know how busy everyone is and how precious your time is, both at work and also with your family. So huge thanks to our kind of hosts today, Chris and Michael. Really appreciate you sharing your insights. Very honest, which I think we just have to be, and just really transparent around what's working and what's not. Some great questions from the community there, covering a whole load of different things as well. For me, I think it remains that focus on people. It remains that commitment to develop. And I love your point, Mike, around people having long memories. I think people will really know who's been treating them well in this recession. Both of you sound like you run great teams where the team really comes first, which is fab. So look, we can absolutely continue this discussion on the community. Those of you that are kind of logged onto our Slack community, go to the Thoughts on Thursday channel. If you post any questions there, Chris and Michael have promised that at some point in the next few days they will get back to you. So let's keep the discussion going. They're also both new mentors on the platform. So if you are a GM or that's your kind of goal, do tap us up and make sure we kind of connect you time willing to the right people. And of course, whatever you're interested in learning about, getting supported, we have people in the community to help. Next week, we're going to be shifting pace a little bit, and we're going to be talking about women in hospitality and really elevating women leaders and supporting each other. So it's going to be a really exciting session. We've got a VP from Marriott, we've got people from hotel chains around the world, and it's going to be led, for once, you'll be pleased to hear, not by me, but by our new head of brand and marketing, Jordine, who's going to do a much better job than I could ever do. So really critical topic. And obviously, you know, male and female leaders and aspiring leaders from right around the industry, welcome to come and hear from women who have been kind of at the top and worked their way there. And I'm sure I have lots of great lessons. But for now, thank you so much for attending this week. You know, keep strong, stay safe, and enjoy your time in the community. As ever, give us feedback on what's working, what's not. We are here to support and help. And thanks again, Chris, Michael. It's been great. Stay safe.
Cheers, James.
See you all
See you
next week.
guys.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.